quick recap, Bangladesh has plunged into complete political chaos and anarchy on the streets. The Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has resigned. She is right now in an aircraft, a fighter jet at the Hindon Air Base in India. As I speak, the NSA has gone in to meet her. Ajit Doval is meeting Sheikh Hasina. What it means for India and especially how India deals with this situation in the current context. Let's quickly cut across to our guests. I have Veena Sikri, former Indian diplomat, served as the Indian High Commissioner in Bangladesh. We also have with us Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow, ORF Strategic Affairs Expert, Rajiv Dogra, former Consul General to Pakistan, Ashok Sajanhar, former Indian diplomat. Veena Sikri, it'd be, for India, it's a tightrope walk on how it deals with the current situation. India would definitely won't want Sheikh Hasina to remain in the country, especially as, it's earned itself quite a bit of anger of the opposition where Bangladesh is concerned with, always backing Sheikh Hasina. How do you see India dealing with the situation?
Well, I think first and foremost, this depends on the wishes of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina herself. I do not know as yet of any request from Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina that she would like to stay in India. Maybe, as you have said, as you have pointed out, there are very important meetings going on at Hindon Air Base where National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is meeting her, and obviously political discussions are being held. So whether such a formal request has been received, this is not in our information yet. There was news that her plane might be going to London, it might be going to Belarus. This is a very, very...
So what we do know, Ms. Sikri, is the fact that Sheikh Hasina has requested for asylum in the United Kingdom as a sister resides there.
Yes, that is right. We have that request and there's no response yet. We do not know whether that is there. But naturally, because her sister lives there and her sister is with her, I think, on this plane, because she arrived in Dhaka just 2 or 3 days ago from London. So I think they're together in this thing. So obviously for her, a natural would be to go back to her home there and take her sister with her. So I think this is a very, very evolving situation. And I think certainly as far as Bangladesh is concerned, we are following what's evolving there as well. We want stability to return within Bangladesh. And whether in response to the Chief of Army Staff's press conference, the protesters are now leaving the streets of Dhaka, this is the information that we need from there, whether it's stabilizing. I know we see these horrible visuals you're showing of taking over residential. It reminds us of what happened in Sri Lanka just ever so recently.
Or and Pakistan, even when the Corps commanders' houses were ransacked.
Yes, they were burnt over there. So this seems to be a modus operandi that has come in to our neighborhood, and this kind of a destruction and lack of stability that is being introduced into our neighborhood. It is very worrisome for us, and certainly we will.
Right, Rajiv Dogra, are we looking now at least at a period of great instability where Bangladesh is concerned, as at least the students who were leading the process, the protest, the movement, have outrightly rejected military rule, and as I speak, there is martial rule in Bangladesh.
Well, you are right. There is reason to apprehend some amount of insecurity, instability in Bangladesh. And as General Kulkarni pointed out, there is also reason for us to be concerned about the effect it has, especially on our northeast, from various directions, but mostly the security angle. But coming to Bangladesh itself, I see army getting hold of things in the days to come. And I will also see an extended period of martial law. Whatever may be our wishes, whatever may be our hopes, they do not matter very much in the internal politics or internal dynamics of Bangladesh in the phase it is entering now. And that phase is inimical to India and its interests, because that phase has been very carefully scripted over the last few weeks. You remember recently, in recent past, Sheikh Hasina had a run-in with the army. That was somehow suppressed. Then the army chief whom she is appointed only a month and a half back is related to her. Yet he gave her 45 minutes notice, according to one report, to quit. And then he arranged her safe passage out of Bangladesh. So the same army chief who, if you look at his career profile, has had appointments where he could dispense favor to officers. So he is in a comfortable position where he knows that he controls the loyalties to him of senior army officers. So I don't think he's going to give up that position of comfort very early. Now, what happens to India-Bangladesh relations? That is the big if, and whether they will improve. That should preoccupy us in the coming days and weeks to come, because I don't see Bangladeshis who are now going to be connected with the government in one way or the other, or going to control the streets in one way or the other, are going to be very sympathetic to India. Or
is there going to be a clear tilt towards China and Pakistan, which anyway has historic distrust between India? But Sushant Sareen, do you concur with what we can expect in Bangladesh with what Mr. Rajiv Dogra said? Because at least 4 or 5 main leading students group have come out and completely rejected martial law. And that's what is in place right now. Do you see a conflict taking place, more instability? Or do you think it's all part of a larger plan?
Preeti, I think it would be incorrect to call what exists right now in Bangladesh as martial law. Martial law has a completely different connotation. Yes, the military is in control. Yes, the military is trying to set up an interim government. But to call that martial law, I think would be a gross misrepresentation of what is the situation. Because martial law would mean that the army is taking over completely. The army officers are calling all the shots. The entire civil administration is working under the army.
But who is calling the shots then, Sushant Sareen, right now?
I think what they're trying to do right now, look, right now it's too much of flux. But what the army claims to be wanting to do is setting up an interim government, which is predominantly made up of civilians, at least the names that are doing the rounds. There are a few retired army officers, but of course the army would be underpinning this, giving it the support. This government cannot last without the army support. So yes, it's a kind of an interim arrangement of the sorts the caretaker governments used to happen, or as Ambassador Sikri was talking about what happened in 2007, 2008, something similar to that. So I wouldn't call it martial law, number one. Number two, my apprehension is that whatever interim government that the army sets up, partly for reasons that is the army chief's position actually above board. Will the people be ready to go along with this army chief considering his links with Sheikh Hasina? I don't know. I'm just speculating. But even if that was to happen, will they accept whichever interim government is set up? That will depend a lot also on the opposition parties. What does the Jamaat say? What does the BNP say? What do the many other smaller Islamist parties which have a street presence, what do they say? So I think there is no clarity on how things are likely to unfold in the hours and days ahead. Once that situation becomes clear, we can have some idea on what to expect coming from Bangladesh. As of now, there's only bad news coming.
Ashok Sajanhar, Rajiv Dogra said the army is not going to let go. You have Sushant Sareen state that far from martial law, it's a state of flux. How do you read the current context with what is really going on? Because as I speak, 4 or 5 major students group have come out and outrightly rejected the army. How are you going to put together an interim government which would be acceptable to the people who spearheaded this movement?
Yeah, so, the way I look at it is, however much the army might wish to stay, and there might be some sort of elements there, including the chief, who might wish to stay because, getting power in your hand and then giving it up voluntarily is, does not come easily to people. But I think there is going to be a huge lot of pressure on the army that they cannot stick with power for a very long time. And, whatever reports seem to be coming out at this moment is that after the meeting in with the president today later, there is going to be an interim government that is going to be sworn in tomorrow morning. And that is going to be comprised of basically, technocrats and, whether it is retired senior government officers, academics, businessmen, journalists, etc., etc. They are not going to be comprised of people from any of the political parties. and then they have a mandate of holding the elections within the next 3 months. Now, I put to you that if the politicians are not a part of this interim government, of course they will be interested that the elections take place as soon as possible. So I think if this is the sort of plan A that is to be followed, then there would be some sort of elections, some sort of regular government that would come into position. But yes, there is a lot of uncertainty because, you know, again, these elements, Preeti, who are on the roads, they are not students by any stretch of imagination.
You see a large...
You know, the whole movement has been hijacked. You know, whole movement has been hijacked.
Exactly what Veena Sikri said earlier on. I'm going to get you, Ms. Sikri, again, but I want to get a quick update from my colleague Geeta Mohan, our External Affairs editor. Geeta, what are you hearing from the ministry right now? What's the latest?
Well, the latest that's coming in is that there's a safe house within the Hindon Air Base, which is where Sheikh Hasina is going to be till the time there's clarity on her forward movement, onward journey, because we were told that it is going to be London, Preeti. As of now, we do not know, but a lot of the senior leadership, including particularly National Security Advisor Doval, has met with the former Prime Minister. We're also given to understand that there are others who have also met her, which includes Western Air Command Chief Air Marshal PM Sinha. Also, the fact that there are guard commandos now who have taken over the entire Hindon Air Base of the IAF and are guarding that entire safe house where former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is going to be. So that's the latest that's coming in, which means there is no clarity, Preeti, as of now, as to where is Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina headed or whether she'd be leaving anytime soon or not. There are reports that are coming in again completely unconfirmed on whether if there's clearance from the United Kingdom or not, should she want to go to London. So this all happened, like I said last time when we were having a conversation, this happened so last minute that there was no time for preparation or to prepare, although we're also given to understand that there was a meeting at around 12 o'clock with all our top brass, top leadership, which includes the Army, National Security Advisor, the External Affairs Minister, with the Prime Minister, to discuss the situation that's happening in Bangladesh. They knew exactly what they were to do when she flew out of Bangladesh, and around 5 p.m. or post 5 p.m. When her aircraft landed, National Security Advisor Doval was on his way to the Hindon Air Base. So there was absolute coordination between New Delhi and Dhaka, especially the Indian mission there, on how to go about things, but no clarity from where it's headed from here on, where Sheikh Hasina is at Hindon Air Base.
All right, Veena Sikri, to give you the last final word on this, we've discussed at length on what possibly it means for India and sadly not good things in the offing at least. But what does it mean, for Bangladesh, Veena Sikri? Because while there might be these, not just students anymore, but there have been a few organic student groups and quite a bit of them who've been attached to this. And they've outrightly rejected at least what the current formulation that is being offered. How do you see a huge span of instability for Bangladesh?
This was the news coming in when the Chief of Army Staff gave his press conference at 4 o'clock that he said he'd met the political parties, but there was no word from him on whether he had met any of these students' organizers. Now, when you're saying that you've heard that the interim government or the statement by the Chief of Army Staff has been rejected, who has rejected it? Is it the students' organizers? I must tell you that in this entire process of the students' protest in Bangladesh, there is not a united hierarchy of the so-called students groups. There were coordinators of different groups of students, sometimes belonging to different universities, sometimes even within one university there'd be more than one group. So actually the question when you say that who has rejected this proposal of the interim government, it seems to me, could this be the protesters, and are these protesters in the form of the representative of more of Jamaat-e-Islami than anybody else? So I think we have to look into it a little carefully to see whether who it is that is rejecting the proposal of the Chief of Army Staff.
So you're reading a whole different picture behind this.
Yes, because as I said, the Chief of Army Staff's objective is to get the protesters off the streets. Now, are they going to be off the streets or not? From the visuals you are showing, it doesn't seem that they are off the streets.
No, it's a free-for-all right now.
Yeah. That's right. It's a free for. I know if they accept, if there is pressure, but then maybe if it is the Jamaat-e-Islami, they will want more representation from their side. There's going to be a struggle of that kind. Normally, the classical caretaker government or interim government approach in Bangladesh has been to appoint senior civil society representatives, lawyers or former army people, or former election commissioners or former ambassadors. There are all these such names in the list, but whether it is acceptable, whether it's going to be able to present this is a big question mark. We have two big points of uncertainty. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, former Prime Minister Hindan, and also there in Bangladesh.
Well, two big points of instability in Bangladesh, and of course where India is concerned, where we now look at a very different geopolitical order, at least in the subcontinent. I appreciate all four of you for joining us. Thank you. We're going to keep the spotlight on the latest developments coming in. Latest, of course, is that there is a safe house that has been created at the Hindan Air Base for Sheikh Hasina. Will she move on there for London? But we do know that she has requested asylum from the United Kingdom. Yet to hear from it. For now, this is where it stands, in a complete state of flux.